Welcome back. All right, how about a top 10 list? 10 goaltenders who I feel that have been underrated, and this is during the time I've watched hockey. And then there's 5 that I feel currently may very well be underrated. So, pretty self-explanatory. I'm wearing my Malarchuk jersey. Malarchuk doesn't make the list here. I figured, yeah, I'll wear my Malarchuk jersey. I have a Beaupre jersey. He wouldn't make the list either. I have a Moog jersey. Doesn't make the list either. So I didn't go by my favorites. I went by ones who I feel like, yeah, they've been underrated in their careers. And so this is for historically, and this is for the 5 that I feel are currently underrated. All right, starting things off at number 10, and an honorable mention to Jeff Hackett. Jeff Hackett just misses the cut. A goaltender who, if you look at his win-loss record over his career, wasn't very good. But if you look at the actual underlying numbers, he was a good goaltender. He just did not play on very good teams, which could be a theme for some of these goaltenders. Number 10 on the list. I actually have a photo of him. Because Ken Reagan is a goaltender that I feel like was underrated during his career. So here. Ken Reagan, right here, when he played with Pittsburgh. Reagan was a goaltender that I did feel like was underrated during his career. His numbers were poor when he played in Toronto, but that was an interesting time too because they had Reagan and Bester for a while, good goaltenders on a bad team. Reagan would have really strong numbers in the early mid-90s. I thought he was underrated. Goaltender I would compare to him now would be like Adin Hill, although Adin Hill does have a lot of support at this point in time because he's playing in Vegas. Prior to that, not necessarily so much. Number 9 on the list. Jocelyn Thibault. Jocelyn Thibault is probably best remembered for being part of the Patrick Waugh trade, where Waugh goes to Colorado, Thibault goes to Montreal, and good luck replacing Patrick Waugh. But Thibault had some very good years with the Chicago Blackhawks, which was at a time where the team wasn't a greatly run team, but Thibault was a very good goaltender for them. So Thibault comes in number 9. Number 8 on the list. When Tom Barrasso came into the NHL as a teenager, he had an amazing rookie season with the Buffalo Sabres, and then it was very difficult for him to follow that up. And I felt like by the time Pittsburgh won Stanley Cups with him in net, I felt like he was underrated. And I think part of it might have been that his personality was, can I say truculent? Either way, his personality I think kind of put some people off. But Barrasso, when it came to game time, he was an excellent goaltender, does have Stanley Cup rings, and honestly, if you look at his resume, I think it's pretty much Hall of Fame caliber, but there you go. Number 7. It's always interesting to me when I talk about Tuukka Rask because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are like, nope, didn't like Tuukka, nope, he can never come through in the big games. And yet, Boston gets to 2 Stanley Cup finals, 2013 and 2019, with him as the goaltender. And he was pretty darn good right up until the Stanley Cup final. And if you have a goaltender that's pretty darn good right up until the Stanley Cup final, that's a good goaltender in my eyes. And I do feel like when Boston would fail in the playoffs, it got thrown on him a lot. And I didn't feel like that was necessarily fair. Understanding goaltenders, the last line of defense and all that, but still. Number 6. Thomas Vokoun. Not Bocuse. No. We're not making up a new name. Not doing that today. Maybe some other time. I'll just make up a whole bunch of players. But Thomas Vokoun, April 1st is coming. But Thomas Vokoun, I feel like, was an excellent goaltender throughout his career. He just didn't necessarily play as a starter in a location where he got a ton of attention. But Vokoun was a very good goaltender in his own right. And if you go and look at his career stats and where he gets those career stats, you can understand why I would think he's a little bit underrated when you look back at his career. Number 5. Craig Anderson. Craig Anderson played a lot in Ottawa. Ottawa doesn't get as much attention as a lot of other locations. I do feel like Craig Anderson was a very good goaltender for quite some time, and so he makes my top 10 list at number 5. And really, it is a vibe thing as to why I'm putting goaltenders at each level. It's not really with any idea of, well, this goaltender I feel like was clearly better than that one. It's just kind of this one I think belongs here. Again, you guys can let me know your thoughts. But Craig Anderson, to me, at number 5 makes a lot of sense. Number 4, Marty Turco. One thing, and I've talked about this before too, and it's not that dissimilar to Tuukka Rask. Anytime that you would see Dallas fail in the playoffs, I would see people talking about how Marty Turco wasn't good enough. And I never saw that. I never felt that way about Marty Turco. Still do not feel that way about Marty Turco. I think Marty Turco was a very good goaltender and put up some really, really solid numbers in Dallas. And yeah, Marty Turco, I think, is one of the more underrated goaltenders overall. All right, so we move into the top 3. Number 3 on the list, Evgeny Nabokov. Nabokov, excellent goaltender. Played most of his career in San Jose. Was the starting goaltender for a San Jose team that was very good for quite some time. Nabokov, now when you look back, he doesn't get talked about that much. So when I was looking through the list of goaltenders and going through guys I felt like belonged on the list, I was like, Nabokov's got to be on this list because we don't really talk about him that much, and he didn't retire that long ago, at least as far as I can recall. But I mean, your memory starts to kind of, hey, yeah. So Nabokov, number 3, number 2 on the list. I've talked about this goaltender on this channel plenty. I still think one of the most underrated goaltenders in the history of the game is Chris Osgood. Osgood suffered from playing for really good teams, and so his numbers were very good in Detroit, but the team was fantastic. So there was a lot of, well, yeah, they win, and Osgood's a good goaltender, but I mean, he's really helped by the guys he's playing behind. I never really felt like that was a great argument with Osgood, and so yeah, Ozzy for me goes to number 2 on the list, which brings us to number 1. Another goaltender who played behind some very good teams, and all he did was win, and that's Corey Crawford. Corey Crawford, excellent goaltender, and to me, I believe, belongs at number 1 on this list. His overall career number is very good, although the answer from people would be, yeah, but Crawford, look at the team he played behind, and thus this list is born. So those are the top 10 in my time watching hockey, not including players that are currently in the NHL. And I wasn't intending to do the list with goaltenders from the current NHL, and I thought, nah, I really should, because people are going to be like, where's this guy? Where's this guy? All right, number 5 on the current list. I do feel like we talk about Lucas Dostal a lot, but I still feel like he gets underrated a bit. I feel like he has earned that number 1 job in Anaheim. He's been a really strong goaltender for them this year, and he was good last year as well. I think the sky's the limit when it comes to Dostal. Like, speculating on Vezina is almost impossible because there's so many goaltenders that you could make that argument for. But at some point in time, will he be a finalist for the Vezina? I think he will. Number 4 on the list. Karl Vejmelka of the Utah Hockey Club. Vejmelka's issue was he played in Arizona, and so he wasn't really, thought of that often. In terms of the better goaltenders. And consistency coming into this year was a thing, too, where he might have a great game against Toronto, might have a great game against one of the top teams in the league, and then the next game he wouldn't be as good against a team that wasn't as good as the one he just beaten. So there were consistency issues. It feels like those have been ironed out a lot this year. Maybe the fact that the team in front of him isn't concerned about moving, that they're comfortable and they go out there just play hockey. But either way, Vejmelka's numbers have been very good this year, and I feel like he belongs on the list. Number 3, another Western goaltender. A lot of Western flavor in this. Darcy Kuemper. Kemper's, at this point in time, winding things down, but you wouldn't know it by looking at his numbers this year. Like, I don't know how many more years he's going to be in the NHL, but he's giving the Kings some really solid goaltending. I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. Should be very interesting if we get LA Edmonton again, because if you have Skinner against Kuemper, I would say right now Kemper's playing the better of those two goaltenders. playoffs can be a different beast, but still, I think Kemper belongs in the top 3 on this list. Number 2, Sam Montembeault. He's had a really strong year for the Montreal Canadiens. And Dobesh got some attention when he first came up and was doing really well as well. But Montembeault's been fantastic. So I think Sam belongs on the list. He didn't get to play at Four Nations, which is kind of too bad because he's having an excellent year. If you look at the analytics on him, his analytics are fantastic this year. So Montembeault, in my eyes, is one of the more underrated goaltenders right now. Number 1, I have talked a lot about this goaltender over the last couple of months. I think that Arvid Soderblom is giving the the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm wearing Buffalo, so Buffalo in the brain. I think Soderblom's giving Chicago excellent goaltending. And it's frustrating to me to watch his win-loss record talked about as one of the worst in the history of the game. I understand that it is, but he's playing much better than his record. Like, it is so frustrating to watch as he outduels the goaltender at the other end, but loses because Chicago does not have a contending team in terms of playoffs or much of anything else other than contending for a shot at the number 1 draft pick this year. So, to me, Soderblom is really an underrated goaltender in the National Hockey League, and thus I put him first on the list. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Remember, with a list like this, there really are no wrong answers, so tell me why I'm wrong in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.